Where did he text you? No, Mark. Oh. But he was running to the school at 6:30. It's gonna be close. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know it's probably just heavy. It feels heavy. I don't think it is. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't seem to have to go. There's some magical platform that rises up. Yeah. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Yeah, but that's like Mr. Theater level stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff I dream. That's so cool. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't
I'm sorry we're staying for a moment today. The band will not be playing. We've got other stuff to do. So thank you very much. Calling the city council meeting of March 9th to order. If everybody please stand up and let's pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wood. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Tom Rivers. Councilmember Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Darrow.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Soroka.
Here.
Councilmember Blue.
Here.
Agenda item 3, our favorite night of the year, presentation of the 2024 Public Safety Department Merit Awards. Chief, you want to take it over?
House tonight. Good evening, everyone. Distinguished council members, Mayor Theros, Judge Bushback, families, and friends. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to present our Public Safety Merit Awards before you this evening. Recognition of the exceptional efforts of our personnel who went over and above the performance of their duties in 2024. Please remember that the recipients before you this evening are not the only individuals who received accolades for a job well done last year. The department regularly receives emails, phone calls, and letters of appreciation for our personnel throughout each year. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, when I call your names, please step forward. PSO William Madsen.
Let's go.
Excuse me. On March 20th, PSO Madsen made a stop of the vehicle for an illegal window tint and no license plate. Driver of the vehicle was suspended and had a warrant out of Grosse Pointe Woods. PSO Madsen took him into custody for the warrant. During an inventory search of the vehicle, Madsen located several credit cards and names of other individuals and noticed that the RFID chip on one had scratches on it, indicative of the card being tampered with. Detective Lazarski located the owners who lived at West Bloomfield and San Diego, California. Both victims stated that they had recently been victims of identity theft. They also stated they did not give the suspect permission to use their cards. The suspect was subsequently charged by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office with a 6-count felony warrant. PSO Madsen is commended for his attention to detail and follow-up in this case.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
This next one's a Director's Unit Award. A lot of people involved in this. Deputy Director Rogers, Detective Lieutenant Trubiano, Lieutenant Kipke, Detective Brzeski, Detective Lazarski, PSO Colombo, PSO Newberg, PSO Rhaegar, PSO Ross, PSO LeCare, PSO LeBeau, and PSO Thomas.
Here's a stack right here.
In June of 2024, an investigation into a criminal enterprise comprised of suspects selling stolen vehicles after retagging them with legitimate VIN numbers was led by Detective Derek Lazarski. Lazarski organized an undercover sting operation on June 26th. If everyone remembers, we sent you a video last summer of how this went down, consisting of Grosse Pointe Farms detectives, plainclothes, and uniformed patrol officers, our drone unit, and a detective from Grosse Pointe City. The operation took place in the parking lot at Chase Bank located in Mackinac, where an undercover buy of a stolen and retagged vehicle was arranged. PSO LeBeau and PSO Thomas, in plain clothes, met with one of the suspects to effect the transaction. As the suspect's partner looked on from a nearby vehicle, an officer surveilled the operation from the surrounding areas and overhead with a drone. Excuse me. When the order was given, all officers converged on the suspects, causing one of them to flee on foot toward Mackinac Ross. PSOs LeBeau, Ross, and Thomas, Detective Lazarski, and Narduzzi, Lieutenant Kipke, Deputy Director Rogers all gave chase on foot as other officers closed in with their vehicles. Detective Lieutenant Trubiano took the fleeing suspect's unsuspecting partner into custody while he watched the chase unfold. The fleeing suspect was pursued into the intersection of Mackinac Ross, where he decided to surrender and was taken into custody without incident in front of busy midday traffic. The arrests resulted in an 11-count felony warrant, including conducting a criminal enterprise, which is punishable by 20 years in prison. One of the suspects, who had already served 11 years for carjacking, was arrested again while awaiting our charges for attempting to retag 2 more stolen vehicles. All involved officers are recognized for their thorough and exhaustive efforts in taking 2 career criminals off the street. The tenacity and professionalism are commended and appreciated.
I saw you. Nice job. Thank you.
Like to nominate her for best. Okay, this next one is a departmental commendation. Detective Zarsky, PSOs Colombo, LeBeau, and Thomas. On July 11th, a suspect exposed and fondled himself while following a minor female down Rand Road. A prompt investigation revealed that the suspect was employed at the DAC. Detective Lazarski, PSO Colombo, LeBeau, and PSO Thomas made on location and immediately took the subject into custody without incident. Their decisive actions took the predator off the streets before he could prey on other unsuspecting children. These officers were commended for the well-coordinated investigation and swift actions.
Yes.
You got switched on. They may be out of order, good on. What's up?
Turning my petitions. Good man. Going to Florida next
Next award is a citation. PSO Mike Ryan. December 6th, around midnight, dispatch began receiving calls from residents reporting vehicle break-ins. The night shift responded to 8 larcenies from auto reports, in addition to several other vehicles found by officers with open doors. At approximately 1 a.m., Grosse Pointe City encountered a suspect vehicle on University. The suspect's rummaging through a car. As the officer attempted to investigate, the suspect vehicle rapidly sped away toward Lakeshore. Patrolling near Lakeshore, PSO Ryan spotted the suspect vehicle traveling eastbound and confirmed that the license plate matched the LFA suspect vehicle provided by the detective bureau for previous incidents. As PSO Ryan approached the suspect vehicle, it accelerated down Lakeshore toward Grosse Pointe Shores. At the intersection of Lakeshore and Lockmore, it attempted to make a left turn but lost control. All 5 occupants jumped out of the vehicle and fled in various directions. The night shift officers, with assistance from surrounding departments, established a perimeter to locate the suspects. PSO Ryan deployed Drone 3 as officers searched on foot. Drone 3 successfully detected 2 suspects in the rear of a home on Sunnyvale, hiding under some foliage, where officers promptly arrested them. PSO Ryan and Drone 3 then indicated another thermal reading at the rear of a house on Lockmore, where officers located a suspect hunkered down under some bushes. Grosse Pointe Shores officers located the remaining 2 suspects after receiving calls from concerned residents of them ringing doorbells. PSO Ryan is recognized for his skill in drone operations, while assisting officers in apprehending multiple suspects involved in over a dozen larcenies from vehicles.
Give us drones.
Next award is a departmental commendation. Detective Roger Wachewski and Reserve Officer Ted Brunk. February 15th, the suspect pulled a pistol on an employee of Village Market on Van. He was confronted after shoplifting several bottles of liquor. The suspect fled from the location wearing an Amazon vest. Detective Wachowski was informed by Reserve Officer Roney that several days prior, a suspect with a similar description was observed on a ring camera stealing packages from a porch, which was posted on the Neighbors app. Also posted was the suspect squatting at a home on Cadieux in the city of Detroit. Detective Wachowski contacted the owner of the house on Cadieux, who stated that the property was supposed to be vacant. The owner gave permission to Wachowski to enter the location. On February 18th, members of the special response team raided the home and took the suspect into custody, wearing the same jacket and shoes he wore during the robbery. Also located was a black pistol BB gun. The suspect was a 7-time convicted felon, was charged by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office with armed robbery as a habitual fourth offender. The officer's attention to detail and responsiveness removed a violent felon from the streets in less than 72 hours. Next award is a departmental citation. Sergeant Cashin, Detective Wachowski, PSO Rosati, PSO Coates, PSO Orlovsky. On July 23rd, PSO Orlovsky and Rosati responded to a burglary alarm at Enterprise Rental on Mac. The alarm indicated motion at the front door, garage, and office. Upon arrival, PSO Orlovsky observed a gray Jeep Wagoneer parked in the alley behind the building with no license plate. Vehicle fled without lights onto westbound Mac at a high rate of speed. Sergeant Cashin and PSO Coates arrived shortly thereafter and observed the front door had been smashed. Officers entered the building to check for individuals inside. Coates and Cashin checked the front office while Rosati and Orlovsky entered the garage. Yelling was heard from the garage, and PSO Rosati was observed on the ground with his weapon aimed at an individual who was under a truck, as PSO Orlovsky was on the driver's side with his weapon drawn. The suspect initially refused to comply with officers' verbal commands until they mentioned using a taser, and he then moved from under the truck. Orlovsky, Rosati, and Coates grabbed the suspect, pulled him out, and took him into custody. Detective Wachowski then conducted a thorough and meticulous investigation, tying the incident to a recent string of stolen Jeep Wagoneers from the Warren stamping plant. He contacted the Warren PD and found that the suspect was responsible for a string of thefts in Warren and possibly other communities. These officers are commended for their prompt efforts in a multi-layered investigation and arrest.
Thank you.
Next award is the Departmental Commendation, PSO Newburgh, PSO Ross, and this would be PSO Desmond Girl, but he could not be here this evening. December 5th, officers were dispatched to Grosse Pointe Memorial Church for an adult female armed with a knife, attempting to commit suicide. PSO Ross was first on scene and attempted to locate the subject and evacuate the immediate area. PSO Desmond Drill located the subject in a small kitchen area on the 3rd floor, with assistance from PSO Newburgh. Desmond Drill observed her at the far end of the room with the knife, actively running it against her wrist. He made verbal contact with her and she dropped the knife, turned toward an electric stove, and turned the burners on. PSO Newburgh prompted Desmond Drill for him to approach her and go hands-on, taking her to the ground and preventing her from harming herself. PSO Ross also aided in securing her, and thankfully she did not have any wounds to her wrists or any part of her body. The female began to calm down when her mother arrived, and they walked out to the medic unit for transport to St. John. These officers are commended for their assertiveness and professionalism in preventing self-harm to a person in distress. Our final award for the evening, this is our second year to present this award. It's Public Safety Employee of the Year. This award could go to anybody, a public safety officer, dispatcher, fire specialist. It's somebody that we feel contributed the most throughout the course of the year, not just in a single event. Last year it was Charity Hanover who got the award. This year it goes to Jim LeBeau, who is the SRO at Grosse Pointe Zone. Spring of 2024, PSO Jim LeBeau was chosen to become a high school resource officer at Grosse Pointe South High School. Months that followed, he grew his newly minted position into a dynamic and multi-layered program, which has been well received by students, parents, faculty, and administration. Jim's weekly responsibilities include campus security, student counseling and mentorship, the public safety diversion program for young offenders, the Face Addiction Now program, supervising medical emergencies, speaking in classes, and serving in the Leaders of Tomorrow program, just to name a few. He attends Blue Devils sporting events, dances, school spirit activities, and in-service training, all while maintaining his police and fire certifications with the Department of Public Safety. Jim has stepped into his new role with pride and purpose, reveling in the challenge of building what will hopefully endure as an integral part of life at Grosse Pointe South High School. His commitment to the mission, easygoing demeanor, and unbridled enthusiasm have made him a successful SRO and recipient of the 2024 Employee of the Year.
Yes.
That concludes our presentation. Some time.
So I'm gonna break protocol a little bit. We're usually supposed to talk up there. But this is my 24th year doing this, and it's my favorite day of council meeting we have. I know we are showing appreciation today to those of you who serve our community as PSOs, but please know that we appreciate you every year for dedicating yourselves to protecting our city and our citizens. You do an absolutely fantastic job, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And most importantly, to the family members who let us have your loved ones as our PSOs and let them serve our city, thank you to you. So again, have a great year, be safe out there, everybody, and thank you for what you do. I'll take a few minutes so you guys can take some family photos with each other, but thank you very much. There you go. You went together. Yours is only 25. I'll try to see if I remember some of them.
Most of these guys are not working. Great. Oh, yeah. Get a family photo? Oh. Make sure you're proud. I don't have anything to say. I just have. How would you think about when he wasn't getting? I looked over at one point. I'm like, who did? Oh yeah, he was. When I saw him, I panicked. I'm like, oh, shit, is he getting charity up here?
Got sewer system. Public safety. You go through basement codes though, it is pretty precise. You
got our budget all finished, Jim? Everything approved?
And we'll see.
Did you throw in, work percent?
For the director and deputy director, 10%.
What?
Okay, we are on to item number 5, much less exciting, much less. Consideration of request from Flyleaf for a site plan approval of an outdoor dining platform. Who is here on behalf of Flyleaf? Oh, choose, I skipped right over the minutes, yes, thank you, sorry. I apologize. Item 4, reading consideration of minutes of the regular meeting held Monday, February 10th, 2025. Any changes or corrections on those minutes?
I have none, but we have to exclude that.
So exciting. Let me do this first. With no changes or corrections, the minutes are approved. Do I have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Wilburn Conrad? Councilwoman, sorry.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, number 5, consideration of a request from Flyleaf for site plan approval of an outdoor dining platform. Who is here for Flyleaf? I guess the application will stand as submitted. Yes, all right.
And if the council has no questions, you can still consider it. If you have questions, there's no one here to answer them, you'll have to adjourn it.
Well, does anybody have any questions on this item?
Bill, there are several recommended conditions to be put onto the motion from our consultant, Kenna. So I, for the benefit of the petitioner, I think they should be here to hear that. Don't you think?
It's unusual that you would have no one show up and still consider a matter. It's up to the council if you wanted to consider it tonight, but I think the better practice is to adjourn this until the April meeting and make sure that someone's here to answer questions.
Well, why don't we hold it in advance in case somebody shows up late, and then we can, yeah, and then this year we can do that. All right, so let's pass item 5 for a moment. Item 6, consideration of an appeal for a sign permit application for 18700 Mac Avenue. So, Mr. Baca. Read this all correctly. There's less signage. It's here solely because quote unquote ownership changed, because Beaumont now became Corwell.
Correct.
Other than that, it's less than the prior signage we approved when Beaumont opened the urgent care.
All new signs, but the one on the front is slightly smaller than the one at the back door. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Does anybody have any questions, or can we just move straight to this? It's here, we might as well do the motions, it's
See
ready.
if anyone in the public-
Yeah, that's right. Does the public have any questions on the signage? Seeing none, public comment is closed, I will accept the motion.
All right. I move that the city council authorize the city administration to grant a sign permit at 18700 Mac Avenue based on the plan submitted to the city on February 12th, 2025 by the Tabor Sign Company on behalf of Corwell Health Urgent Care. To reach this decision, we have reviewed the Public Service Director Matt Bacchus memo dated March 10th, 2025. The memo and signage plan included with the applicant's sign exemption application, a form noting the approval of proposed signage from the applicant's landlord, and a detailed review letter from McKenna dated February 28th, 2025. And for what it's worth, the applicant's comments tonight. Thank you. Approval of this site plan is subject to the following conditions, which are standard before. The sign located at the rear, east of the building, shall not exceed 26.5 square feet or be illuminated. The sign located on the south side of the building shall not exceed 7.5 square feet. The sign located on the front west of the building should not exceed 58 square feet. There shall be no signage on the north side of the building. The parking identification signs remain the same size. And the total signage display area is no more than approximately 119.1 square feet.
Valid motion? So, all right. Roll call, Mr. Kaczynski?
Councilmember Wood. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Wilkie. Councilmember Ritchie.
Yes.
Mayor Theros.
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortman.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You too.
Well, you know what, give us your name, also, we should have to fill the record, sorry.
Oh, sure,
We're
yeah.
going like speed of light today, sorry.
That's all right. My name is Chris, last name is Corradi, Corradi, and I represent your sign. That's it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. It's the easiest ZBA meeting ever.
That's right. Go blue. Item 7, consideration of a bid award for stormwater force main gravity sewer and construction engineering services for the sewer improvement program. Mr. Reside, Shabaka,
Sure, I'll start it off, and really, this is a project that has been the years in the making, and so kind of a combination of a lot of effort over several years, involved actually metering our sewers throughout the city, combined and sanitary, and identifying areas where we have a lot of stormwater infiltration into our system. Culminated with the completion of a sewer system evaluation, which was released in 2020, that reviewed many options for how to best address storm overflow issues. And more than a dozen options were evaluated. And again, with the goal of identifying the most impactful and practical solution for removing storm sewer from the sewer system, and with the goal of reducing the impact associated with basement flooding and street flooding. And so from that, the past 5 years, we worked with Hubble Rock and Clark in developing the basis of design for the sewer project. And after that was the design model was completed, HRC was authorized by City Council to do the design engineering for sewer improvements. And that design engineering was actually funded through a FEMA grant, hazardous mitigation grant that we were awarded. So the next 3 items are all related. It involves the award of the bid for the first division of the sewer improvement project. It involves approval of agreements with the Country Club Detroit, which are related to the establishment of utility easements on the golf course property. And third, we're going to be asking tonight for the approval of a bond resolution for the issuance of bonds to finance the first phase of the project. With that, Tom Maxwell's here and Nate is at the podium. And I think you have a brief presentation on overview of what we're doing and our recommendation for bid award. So I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, that's correct. Just a brief presentation. All right. Good evening, and thank you. My name is Nate Kaufman with Hubble Rock and Clark Consulting Engineers. I'm here to review the Inland District Sewer Separation Program, contract number 1, stormwater force main and gravity sewer award recommendation. Just a pair of introductions. Like Shane had said, Tom Maxwell is here with me. You'll be the partner in charge for this project. My name is Taylor Coffin. I'll be the construction engineer on this project. I'll be handling the day-to-day construction administration on behalf of the city. So yes, a brief agenda for you, a short one. I'll have a brief overview of the sewer separation program and contract number 1 specifically. I'll review the bids that we received on Wednesday, February 19th. I'll go over an approximate construction schedule for this contract number 1, and I'll also discuss public notification efforts. As I mentioned, I'm here to discuss contract 1, but as a reminder, the sewer separation program involves 3 separate contracts to complete this separation. I'll start with contract number 3, which is the sewer separation of the highlighted area you see in yellow. Those separated storm sewers, those will be conveyed to the proposed pump station at the corner of Ross and Chalfont, which is that orange rectangle you have there. And that pump station is contract number 2. And then lastly, we have contract number 1, which is shown by that purple line there. That is our force main and gravity sewer, which will service the pump station and allow the separated stormwater to be conveyed up to Lake St. Clair. It's a blown up view, an overview of contract number 1. So that parcel I have outlined there, that's D52 Chalfont Avenue at the corner of Chalfont and Ross. The force main, the 48-inch force main will start there, and it will be built easterly on the Country Club of Detroit's property, kind of hugging the southern border of the Country Club of Detroit's property, before transitioning to a 60-inch gravity sewer, roughly at the entrance to the golf course. From there, that gravity sewer will continue on through the Country Club of Detroit, through the driving range and out to Kirchwall Avenue, continue south down Kirchwall and east down Tonic Place before discharging to Lake St. Clair. So from the bids that we received on February 19th, we received 5 total bidders. Those are listed there before you, from least to most. And Deponio Contracting LLC out of Shelby Township, Michigan, was the low bidder. I'd like to note that the 3 lowest bidders shown here were all within approximately $700,000 of each other. This is a good indication that the plans and the contract documents were reviewed in a similar fashion, which means the plans and contract documents were interpreted consistently from bidder to bidder. So that's a good thing that we like to see. I'd also like to positively note that the 3 lowest bidders were all below our engineer's estimate, with namely Deponio Contracting being approximately $1.5 million lower than our engineer's estimate. So this is an approximate construction timeline here. We'll have a more solid construction timeline when the project is approved and when we have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. But this is generally how we foresee this project being built. So starting in May, construction of the new outfall and construction at the intersection of Lakeshore Road and Tonic would begin. In the summer months is when the gravity storm sewer would be built off Tonic Place, and in early fall, the gravity sewer would be built Kirchwall Avenue. And then from late fall through the winter and into the spring of 2026, construction would be all on the Country Club of Detroit property. So a good way to think about it is from now until early fall, construction would be in the cities right away, and after that until until the end of March 2026 would all be construction on the Country Club of Detroit. I'd like to note as well that the Country Club of Detroit, they will obviously be impacted by this construction, but they will remain open, business as normal in these winter months. The deadlines that we have chosen for work on the golf course is to minimize disruption to the course by building this not during the golfing season. And then lastly, public notification efforts. So this project consists of large diameter sewers and sewers that are going to be constructed deep below the existing surface. So unfortunately, the construction will impact residents. HRC will assist the city to make residents aware of what construction impacts they can foresee during the project with the following 3 items here. So the first being the city website, we would plan to post the start. Well, once construction starts, we would post that to the website, and we would continue to update the website as construction progresses. We'd also develop and help hand out informational flyers to all residents that are along this sewer route that would be impacted by construction. And then lastly, we'll hold informational meetings with residents prior to construction to give residents that are along that sewer route that could be impacted, give them a chance to ask questions and, you know, see what's to come with construction. So that's all I have. Tried to keep it brief for you. But if you have any questions at this time,
Hi, Nate, a couple questions for you. Yes, this slide. Tonacor Place, we had considered, but decided to pull out a water main project along Tonacor. We're not funding this, the water main project for Tonacor on this particular project. Pulling it out, we're gonna bid it again. So I think it's important for folks to know that there will be, or there are plans for a new water main down Tonacor, simply because that road's gonna be all beat up, right? So
that is correct.
we're gonna give, you know, a benefit to the people on Tonacor with a new, they're gonna get better water pressure, they're gonna get reliable water, and to the extent that's a benefit that they can love and hang on to, you know, with all the street beat up, that's one thing. From the pump station to the top of CCD there, is that going to be trenched? Or is it, how disruptive is that gonna be?
It will be all trench, and all the way from the 352 Chalfont Avenue parcel, all the way to Kirschball Avenue. It's going to be all in grass except for 2 locations where we'll cross the Country Club's access drive and where it crosses that turnaround of Irvine Lane at the end of that cul-de-sac.
Okay. And my last question is, it doesn't really show up very well right here, but the force main goes up to CCD and it goes into what I'm gonna just call a kind of a underground retaining basin. Where is that basin going to be placed? There was some discussion putting it into the parking lot. There was some discussion putting it outside the parking lot, maybe behind the T's for number 10. Where is that gonna go?
Yeah, so the only structure we have from 352 Chalfont, all the way to Kirschball is just that transition structure. It's roughly a 20 by 12 structure, where the force main will transition to gravity sewer. That's the only structure we intend to place on this route.
And location wise, it will be, will it be in the CCD parking lot? Because I think we talked about that a year or more ago, then maybe got moved. I'd like to know what's the final design. Is it behind the T box on number 10?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It is tough to see here. It's a small little square that I had there. But the best way I can describe it is as you're pulling up to the golf course where they have their signage.
Yeah.
And then there's a rather large oak or maple on the left side. That transition structure will be tucked back in there.
Okay, so it would be the left side of the entrance road as you go into CCD then.
That is correct.
Okay, right, that's all, really.
Yeah, we were able to, I know that was the original plans, we were gonna go in the parking lot, we were able to avoid that and get it out of the parking lot area and into that green space, so that was a lot of benefits to the club and in terms of construction costs by doing it that way.
Yeah, it's a benefit.
So in summary, sorry.
John, I don't have a question, but just a comment, if I might, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell, Mr. Kaufman, for your work on this. But Mr. Mayor, this has been a great team effort from city manager Shane Reeside, Mr. Baca, the city attorney Burgess, till I left. We've all sat in on numerous meetings with regard to this project. I suggest that this is going to be $11 million and is extremely well spent as the initial part of this project. for the benefit of our residents. Members of the country club are going to enjoy the fruits of this project as well. And we promise that we're going to keep everyone up to date with regards to the construction. Those on Core are going to be met with before it starts, while it's going, after it's going. We got to keep them very, very closely posted. They're important to our city. This is going to upend their street during the important summer months. But this is a great project for the city of Grosse Pointe Farms, and it's going to be $11 million well spent. Yes. Shane?
So in addition to the contract award, we're asking for approval of contingency, which is included 10% contingency on construction, as well as engineering costs. So tonight we're asking for council approval for a total construction budget amount of $11,004,420.
All right, any questions from the public on this item? Mr. Gerber, come on up.
Hey, you're 306 Fisher. This is a big project, and I have a number of questions of concerns. There was a statement in the thing that by going to the country club, saved, it said $2.9 million. And by putting that in writing, I like to see some justification of how they're going to ride that. It's very nice, but I understand we're going to save money, but does it just give us actually any, how they derive that number? Does that give us anything?
Sure, I can speak to that. And I think that's what we're going to be discussing in the next item, where we talk about the easement agreement. But initially, the force main was slated to go down Ross Road to a point where gravity could take over. So the length of Ross Road, and quickly we could see the challenges of going down Ross Road. It involved going through a utility easement that's filled with utilities. We've got electrical power, we've got gas lines, we've got our water main and individual service lines, driveway approaches, and it's lined with trees, that easement. And so, the hope was to look at alternative, and very fortunate that parallel to that route is the south end of Country Club Golf Course, which doesn't have those obstructions. Plus, that work can be done off season and at a much shorter time period. It won't involve, it'll be a fraction of the time because of the amount of disruption you would have to the roadway and utilities along Ross Road. In terms of the dollar amount, so when we began this endeavor, this project, we did do a cost estimate initially for this project based upon all the things you would put into the project, what the pipe costs are, what we had anticipated for the mobilization, replacement of trees, replacement of approaches, and so forth. So that was, we had that number. We then, once we successfully negotiated, or during negotiations with Country Club Detroit, we were able to ascertain what those costs would be by going an alternative route through the golf course for that force main. And so I do have at some point a side-by-side comparison that kind of lists, all those costs from road restoration and so forth.
So the first through Ross Road, you realize the difference. I mean, we talked about this often, and it was scary because you don't know what you don't know what you're going to hit. You couldn't do a disaster. So this kind of avoids a lot of potential disaster.
I'd rather dig up dirt to break up time.
No, I just wanted I didn't know that. You always don't know the backstory.
Yeah.
So obviously, you guys did diligence.
So cost is a factor and disruption. I mean, this is going to be much less disruptive to those homeowners on Ross Road and people who traverse on Ross Road than the alternative of going behind those properties.
And so that the money, $600,000, that's to oversee the construction project. That was $670,000, something like that. It's not to oversee the project.
Correct, and there's the engineering involved during construction as well.
But most of the big bite is done with that early money we have from FEMA, main engineering. Because I was concerned, I was concerned about some of the easement stuff, so now to wait for that next piece then.
Any other questions from the public? That public comment is closed. Any other questions from council? Do I have a motion? Item 7. I have a motion, Mr. Mayor. It's great, pardon me, it's with great enthusiasm I move to approve sewer separation program contract number 1, Division A, stormwater force main and gravity sewer with a total construction budget amount of $11,004,420. Support? Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, consideration of agreements with the Country Club of Detroit related to sewer improvement programs. 3 agreements to discuss. So can I do them as a whole or piecemeal?
We do them all as a whole.
Okay. Right, Mr. Design.
So just following up on what we discussed at the previous item, this really took place through a series of negotiations with the Country Club of Detroit to acquire an easement along their golf course, and for the reasons I previously stated. And beyond cost savings, there's some significant less disruption as a result of having that easement and a value to that easement because of those savings. And I'm pleased that we really, I think, created a win-win situation where we were able to negotiate an agreement with Country Club of Detroit, which is discussed in the first document, the storm sewer easement agreement. We also agreed there's an additional agreement for utility easement and storm water impact fee agreement. And so one of the things that the benefit the Country Club of Detroit received from this agreement is previously we were billing Country Club of Detroit for water at a rate on a year-to-year basis. There wasn't a long-term contract or agreement for the purchase of that water as related to irrigation for the golf course. And so under this agreement, it sets up terms for a long-term agreement for the purchase of water from the city for irrigation. And so that those terms are outlined in the agreement. And in addition to that, it includes a third agreement for the irrigation water system that would ensure that the city would provide an upgraded water main to the Country Club of Detroit, to the pump house for irrigation, which will increase the volume and pressure of water serving their system. So those are the 3 agreements. In summary, I think you have them in your packet in greater detail. Our city attorney was heavily involved in drafting those agreements. So I defer any questions to either Bill or I.
Questions from council?
I don't have
Sarah,
a question. Thank you. I just wanted to ask Shane if he would put on the record on that first page what GPC is.
Grosse Pointe City, I'm sorry. So it refers in the agreement, it refers to wholesale rates and wholesale rates that are charged to Grosse Pointe City. So the rate that will be charging the Country Club of Detroit will have a relationship with those rates that are charged to Grosse Pointe City.
Yeah, I just had some questions that I think it's just helpful to kind of get again on the record here. There's the so right now there's one element of the deal with the CCD that's a reduction of their rates for stormwater. Sorry, the stormwater reclamation fee or something that I think we had, right? Is that so? What do they pay now versus what they're getting us now?
So currently, what we do is we have charged them for irrigation and impact fee, and the idea of the impact fee is that because of the irrigation system and runoff from the club that water makes its way to the Kirby Road pump station, ultimately goes out to Great Lakes Water Authority for treatment, and there's a cost to the city for that treatment. So they're paying an impact fee for that sewage. I think right now it's somewhere between $120,000 and $140,000 a year. Obviously, with the separation, we're not going to see the amount of impact. The impact will be significantly lower because that water, instead of going to Great Lakes Water Authority for treatment, will be going to through the pump station and then out to the lake. But there's cost to that. There's still cost to operate that pump station, and so we felt that it was important that there was still an impact fee charged to the club. And so under the agreement, they're going to continue to pay impact fee. It's lower. It's $100,000 for the first year, and that amount will be increased on an annual basis with the inflationary index.
So they're already paying an existing fee. This marks a slight discount based on the fact that less money, or excuse me, less water will be going to the station. The other, going to items, I think it's 8C. Right now, the city still charges CCD an equal amount to 75% of the wholesale rate. My question is, what are they currently being charged in terms of wholesale rate?
Charge the wholesale rate.
So they get the wholesale rate. So so they're getting a discount on the wholesale rate of water as part of this as well.
Or for irrigation.
For irrigation, yeah. And then finally, the one question I had was, in the very unlikely event that I guess if the CCD does not exist there anymore, what happens to the deal? Is this deal like if the organization that runs the country club changes, do they get to hold on to this agreement in this 50-year period that it covers? Or, just what happens if the CCD goes to put or needs or organization changes?
Well, those are multiple questions.
Yeah.
Objection compound.
Fair enough.
Easements that are granted by the country club in favor of the city for purposes of the forced main. And by the way, there are two different easement areas. There's one on the southerly expanse of the golf course, and then a smaller one up near Provençal Road. Those easements will continue to exist in perpetuity. You could have a law school class and an exam in terms of the other questions that you've asked. Under the document itself, any successor or assign of the Country Club of Detroit, or for that matter of the city, Grosse Pointe Farms, would stand in the shoes of the existing parties if there were a change in ownership down the road. I think the reason that it's so complicated is you could get into principles of frustration of purpose and an unforeseen change in circumstances. We've drafted these documents as if that's going to be a country club golf course throughout the term of this agreement, without any prediction of what would happen if those circumstances change.
Yeah, and that's just the unusual length of time is probably one of the few reasons why I would ask that question. There's, we talk 50 years in the future, who knows where we'll be, but you have to base some of the assumptions based on the knowledge of the world that we exist in.
It's a good question, although I will say that infrastructure improvements of this nature tend to have terms that run by decades, not just by years, and that's
the most significant being the easement.
Yeah,
that's what we care about. Because the water for irrigation, if it changes, if it's a different club, they'll still irrigate. But if it turns into condos, then the discount rate would not apply. We go back to the regular rate.
That's precisely my question underlying.
A plus, Professor Burgess.
Yes. And I just want to say, I someone who's been able to be a part of some of the discussions going forward, and I am in deep appreciation of Mr. Burgess and the whole team here. And frankly, the neighbors that we have at the CCD who have come to us in good faith and I think we've reached an agreement that's mutually beneficial for both the city and the patrons of that club. So I have deep appreciation for all of you guys. Thank you.
Neil was talking about the $100,000 that CCD is going to be paying to us. This is going to be revenue to us.
Yes.
However, as part of this agreement, we are paying CCD $700,000 in exchange for, I imagine, for the easements. Which I mean, my simple way of looking at it, this is the way, you know, $700,000 one-time fee. We're gonna roll that into the bond that we're gonna be asking to approve after this. And but I think it's important that that's discussed publicly as well. Not only are we gonna be getting money in, but we also are gonna be, we have a liability with the CCD in exchange for, you know, this easements.
Anything else from council? Public. Vernon. Wait, hold on, Andy.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Afterwards.
Okay, go ahead, Andy, go ahead.
Andrew Material Suspicion. Regards to the easements, they mentioned this second one. What is this for? $500,000 or something like that on the north side? It wasn't, is that those more sewer lines or something like that?
So there's Division 1, which we approved tonight, 2, the pump station.
Okay.
And then 3 will be the separation of the southwest quadrant.
Okay.
And when we did our sewer separation of the Lakeside District, it only could go so far up Provençal because gravity would only take the water out to the lake so far up Provençal. And so under this plan, we'll be capturing runoff water from the golf course and on the kind of the southwest corner of the club,
right,
that will benefit those homes on Provençal as well. So instead of putting the easement underneath the roadway, because we only have a limited utility easement on Provençal Road, this will give us another easement parallel to Provençal Road on the south of Provençal that will be running sewer lines that will ultimately go to Chalfont, then to Ross, to the pump station.
Well, that's why I assume it's gonna be along the northbound of the club to Shelby and training back down.
Correct.
Okay. One of the things that I was concerned is, you mentioned this 50-year agreement. Is that agreement for the club? 50 years?
55 of them.
Okay, 5 of them. And there's also discussion about this irrigation water supply agreement. There's something about, we're gonna build them a pump station, or the separate pump station for the from Detroit.
Yeah, we're not, they'll be building, they are going to be constructing a new pump station on the property.
Okay.
But we will provide the feed to that line. So we'll be up, there's currently a main there that will be upgraded to a larger diameter, which will give them the ability to water the course in a shorter period of time, basically because of greater volume and greater water pressure.
But several years ago, there was discussion here, HRC, they were gonna do something like $2 million project to provide water, high pressure water to.
Yeah, so we were looking at this originally as part of the agreement, complicated, originally, what Country Club Detroit wanted to see was to see raw water from the Lake St. Clair come through to their pump house. So we basically had pumps that would take water from a wet well, that raw water, forced it a main up Ross Road, and then across to the club property. We are not doing that.
Okay.
It was more cost prohibitive, and there was other issues associated with that. So we're just upgrading existing mains on Ross.
I wasn't sure, because I remember that 2 or 3 years ago. And that's why that was part of that agreement. That's why I couldn't, it was kind of. I trust our attorney because that was very well, legally stuff. I feel good it was done well. I had one question. What does the term recital mean? It's used on page 60 and 72. What does that mean?
Okay, law school class number 2.
That's
okay. No, a recital is a background fact that informs the terms of an actual agreement.
I never heard that term before, so you gotta ask those. Okay,
whereas are recitals. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Any other questions from the public? All right, public comments closed.
Assuming that there is a motion to adopt these agreements this evening, there is one blank that needs to be addressed in the irrigation water supply agreement. And that is the equivalent of a drop dead date or a sunset period. These agreements are all interrelated, interconnected, no pun intended. And if for some reason the construction timetable were to fall apart or be deferred on an indefinite basis, we thought it important to have a sunset date. It's listed in the document as sometime in calendar year 2028 to give us enough cushion to get things completed. My recommendation is that the motion to approve would delegate to the city manager completing that date following discussion with the Country Club of Detroit.
And the engineers. in terms of
Correct.
time.
Yes.
Andy, you stood, so I'll give you a question.
Sorry about that. There's a number of exhibits in the document that are blank.
That's the insert, we just have to insert the actual.
Those are
minutes and-
legal descriptions and diagrams of the actual.
So we're approving that without the in there.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, I'll make sure it's like that. I was a little bit concerned about that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion from the council? Councilman Wu, left?
No. John?
I have a motion. Sure. Councilman Wu, go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the following: the stormwater sewer easement agreement. Next, the utility easement and stormwater impact fee agreement. And finally, the irrigation water supply agreement as contained in our city council package dated March 10, 2025, with the understanding that the sunset date contained in the irrigation water supply agreement provided in our package this evening, we delegate the authority to enter into the final sunset date to our city manager with input from city attorney, city staff, and city engineer. Valid motion, do I have support? Support. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, consideration of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation unlimited tax bonds, series 2025.
Okay, and the third item is financing. And so similar to what was undertaken in 2000 with our sewer separation of the Lakeside District, our intent here is again to issue general obligation bonds for this project. And we've had our bond counsel and attorney review a draft, a bond resolution that would authorize going forward with the issuance of bond. The total amount is based upon construction, the engineering, and contingency that previously has been approved, plus the easement acquisition cost, which was contained in the prior agreement with Country Club of Detroit, and the cost for issuance of bonds for a total bond estimate of $11,980,000. We're seeking city council approval for that resolution.
Any questions from council?
Louis, I think I'd like to make a kind of a explanation or whatever. I went through the numbers here and I came up short, and I asked Shane why, and it turns out that if you do the math, you come up with $275,580 short of that $11,980,000. And the reason for that is that that was not listed in the agreement that was given to us through an email today from Shane, is that the number 275,580 is the cost of issuance. That there's a number of things: bond counsel, rating fees, max fee, bond discount, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that explains the gap in what we were looking at and this amount. right here. Let me ask the kind of the elephant in the room type question. How much are our residents going to have to pay? And what's the duration of the bonds? Because we have a AAA bond rating, we all know this is great for us. In this particular case right now, this is super good. But I think that, you know, we should discuss a little bit about what's the likely millage increase going to be for our residents. When's the impact going to be? And what's the duration of that going to be?
Sure. So again, like we did, similar to our sewer separation project on the Lakeside District, we're looking at bonding this project. Those bonds would be part of our general fund, so they would be on your tax bill. It will show up on the tax bill as a separate line item, as a separate millage for the payment of the debt service. This is only part of the project. I think with looking at our estimates for segments 1, 2, and 3, we anticipate that the total impact will be approximately 2 mils, which coincidentally is what the impact was with the improvements in Lakeside District in 2000. Immediate impact, this part of it will be paying next fiscal year, so will impact next fiscal year. The first payments will be due. And that is going to be approximately $500,000. So next fiscal year, the impact is roughly $500,000. But as we do the additional phases, that will add to that rate up to what we hope to be a maximum of 2 mils. In terms of duration, part of our goal is to keep it that a lower amount. So we are actually doing projections on bonding it out for either 20, 25 years or 30 years. And so we're kind of looking at those numbers. We'll be sharing those with our budget and audit committee and making a recommendation on how best to finance those in terms of duration and interest rates. Good news is, I know from our bond council, they've awarded some bonds in the last month, and rates are actually more favorable than they were a year ago. So us, kind of the delay may have a better effect on the interest rates we'll be paying.
Any questions on council? When does the bond fall off from the 99,000?
For the sewer separation, yeah, we paid that off about 3 years.
3 years or 22? 22, okay. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, the public comment is closed. Mr. Dooley, do you have a motion on this one as well, or Mr.
Yeah, we're sharing.
Okay, Mr. Wood, have at it. Have at it.
You get to play with this one.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city of Grosse Pointe Farms to sell general obligation bonds in the amount of $11,980,000 as described in Shane Reeside's memo dated March 10th, 2025.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I just want to say that you cannot underestimate, or really, what we're doing here is a project that is long overdue, that will hopefully reduce to hopefully insignificant levels the opportunities for basement flooding in our community. No project is 100%. Surrounding communities have to do their fair share, and our other Grosse Pointes are doing it. But I have lived in the so-called inland district for my entire time in the farms. And this is just our first step in hopefully making it better for everybody in the farms. And when we do these projects, we have to think about these 30, 40, 50-year horizons, because what we do today will impact people who live in the homes that we own right now long after we're gone. And so I commend everybody in the administration, this council, with our consultants and our engineers who just really brought this along. We would have loved to have done it a year or two earlier. Climate, not that COVID kicked us in the knees, but it did a little bit. But it's time for us to move on and look forward to us putting the first shovel in the ground and getting this going. So thank you, everybody, for the hard work put into this. This is really a monumental moment for the farms and a step forward. So consent agenda. Does anybody want anything withdrawn from the consent agenda?
A, I think below A.
Okay.
That's my questions.
Right. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 10B and C? So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10A, consideration of request to approve local social district permits for organization culture fold.
Yes.
Mr. Stroll.
Yeah, so I had number one, I think it would be helpful to just explain what has happened. Because I don't remember if we did the same approvals last year or not, or if this is the new social district. So that's question one. The second question I had was I was going through my head of the businesses on the hill, and Cafe Nini isn't there, and I wondered if there was a reason why they weren't in there, if there was a reason, if they came in at a later date, would we just have to approve or did I misread?
Yeah, so this is the first time you previously took action to create the social district. The state of Michigan approved it. Now that it exists, these businesses can apply.
Okay.
The reason Cafe Nini didn't apply is I talked to them on the phone and said they were, and I encouraged them to apply, so I'll just give them a meeting, but they didn't respond with an email. So what will happen next is probably at a future meeting next month, looking at the consent agenda, it'll be a similar resolution.
And do we have to, the final question I had was, are we gonna have to approve these every year, or is it once we've approved them, it stays on?
No, it's just once.
Okay, got it.
So they'll take this resolution and apply to the state of Michigan, and then they're all set.
Neil, good?
That's it, yeah.
Anybody else have questions on 10A?
Can I just ask Derek? Derek, I seem to have forgotten the hours that were, that we approved. Did we approve? I know we approved all day, right?
Yeah, it's.
But what are the,
It's noon, it's like, Sunday through Thursday, noon to 10 o'clock. And, on Friday and Saturday, it goes till 11.
Okay.
Right, that's right, I wanted brunch. We decided not to have brunch. I remember that. A millennial wedding is brunch.
Yes. No, I said, we got no second chance.
No Bloody Marys.
No Bloody Marys.
Any public comment on 10A? All right, seeing none, public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to approve item 10A?
So moved.
Any support? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to going back to item 5 on the agenda to adjourn item 5 until the April meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Support? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Reports, we have in front of us the public safety report. Any other business? Mr. Reese,
No business.
anybody at council have other business? All right, everybody have a safe St. Patty's Day and enjoy this beautiful spring weather and fertilizer to